बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम class. This is Miss Sidra Iqbal, course instructor and the visiting teacher of the Department of History and Arts, Division of Arts and Social Sciences, University of Education, Bangalore Campus, Lahore. So I am here with the series of Foreign Policy of Pakistan for the program of Masters of History, which course code is HIST 4116. In this series of Foreign Policy of Pakistan, today we are going to discuss our topic, which is Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC. Actually, we divided this topic into two lectures. We already discussed our first lecture, in which we discussed the formation of OIC, objectives of OIC and aims of OIC, why it was formed, and many other things we discussed in our first lecture. So now we are going to discuss our second lecture and finalize this topic. Today we are going to discuss the second lecture of the topic Organization of Islamic Cooperation. In this lecture, first of all, we will discuss the achievements of Organization of Islamic Cooperation. In 1970, when a conflict broke out between Jordan and Palestine Liberation Organization, the Egyptian president Gamal Abdel Nasser and Saudi Arabian King Faisal jointly led the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and the Arab League initiative to resolve the clash. In 1974, the conflict between the newly formed Bangladesh and Pakistan was successfully solved by the organization. These two are the main achievements of the organization of OIC. First of all, एक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जो कि जॉर्डन और पैलेस्टाइन लिबरेशन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की इजिप्शियन प्रेसिडेंट जमाल अब्दुल नासिर और सऊदी अरेबियन किंग फैसल जो हैं उन्होंने जॉइंटली कॉन्फ्रेंस करके इस क्लैश को रिजॉल्व किया। और दूसरा जो है 1974 में वो पाकिस्तान और न्यूली फॉर्म बांग्लादेश जो कि पहले पाकिस्तान का हिस्सा था, पाकिस्तान से अलहदा हुआ इस न्यूली 1971 के अंदर। और इस न्यूली फॉर्म्ड बांग्लादेश और पाकिस्तान के दरमियान जो एक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट था उसको सक्सेसफुली इस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने सॉल्व किया, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ इस्लामिक कॉरपोरेशन। नेक्स्ट, द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ इस्लामिक कॉरपोरेशन लीडर also gained confidence on the issue of Ramadan war in 1973 against Israel. Organization of Islamic Cooperation leadership also successfully solved the issue of oil restriction against the supporter of Israel in 1974. 1974 में ही पाकिस्तान और बांग्लादेश की जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है, न्यूली बॉर्न बांग्लादेश, उसको भी रिजॉल्व किया था. The organization also adopted various resolutions declaring the jihad in numerous fields against the Israeli occupation of Palestine and to force Israel to follow the United Nations resolutions on the matter. First of all, we talk about the achievements. Now we are going to discuss the organizational structure of the Organization of Islamic Corporation. Main organs. First of all, Islamic Summit. The Islamic Summit is composed of kings and heads of state and government of member states and is the supreme authority of the organization. The conference is held to consider issues of critical importance to the Muslim world and formulate policies on them which are implemented by the organization. The Islamic Summit shall convey every 3 years. The Islamic Summit shall convey every 3 years in one of the member states. Council of Foreign Ministers. The Council of Foreign Ministers shall be convened once a year in one of the member states. They should be considering reviewing progress of the implementation, progress of the implementation of the decisions and resolutions adopted at the previous summits and councils of foreign ministers. Considering and approving the program, budget and other financial and administrative reports of the General Secretariat and subsidiary organs, recommending to establish any new organ or committee recommending to establish any new organ or committee, electing the Secretary General and appointing the assistant secretaries, appointing the Secretary General and electing the Secretary General and appointing the assistant secretaries general accordance article. Standing committees. In order to advance issues of critical importance to the organization and its member states, the organization has formed the following standing committees: Al-Quddus Committee, COMIAC, Standing Committee for Information and Cultural Affairs, COMSEC, Standing Committee for Economic and Commercial Cooperation. On fourth number, Standing Committee for Sacrifice and Technological Cooperation. These committees were formed in order to advance issues of critical importance to the organization and its member states. These four committees are formed: Al-Qudus Committee, Standing Committee for Information and Cultural Affairs, Standing Committee for Economic and Commercial Cooperation, Standing Committee for Scientific and Technological Cooperation. The standing committees are chaired by kings and heads of state and government and are established in accordance with decisions of the summit or upon the recommendation of the Council of Foreign Ministers and the membership of such committees. The standing committees are chaired by kings and heads of states and government and are established in accordance with decisions of the summit or upon the recommendation of the Council of Foreign Ministers and the membership of such committees. General Secretariat. The General Secretariat, who shall be the chief administrative officer of the organization. The Secretary General shall be elected by the Council of Foreign Ministers for a period of 5 years. The Secretary General elected for the periods of 5 years by the Council of Foreign Ministers. The Secretary General shall be elected from among nationals of the member states. The Secretary renewable once time. The Secretary General elected accordance with the principles of equitable geographical distribution. Secretaries General of the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation. सेक्रेटरी जनरल जो है उसको काउंसिल ऑफ फॉरेन मिनिस्टर इलेक्ट करती है फॉर द पीरियड ऑफ 5 years. देन द सेक्रेटरी जनरल जो है शैल बी इलेक्टेड फ्रॉम अमंग नेशनल्स ऑफ द मेंबर स्टेट. Secretary renewable once time. Now the Secretary General responsibilities. Now we have discussed that what is the responsibilities of the Secretary General. First of all, follow up the implementation of decisions, resolutions and recommendations of the Islamic summits and councils of foreign ministers and other ministerial meetings, provide the member states with working papers and memoranda in implementation of the decisions, resolutions, and recommendations of the provide the member states with working papers and memoranda in implementation of the decisions, resolutions, and recommendations of the Islamic Summit and the councils of foreign ministers, coordinate and harmonize the work of the relevant organs of the organization, challenges, difficulties in coordination, geographical dispersed, Africa, Asia, Middle East, Southeast Asia, political diverse, Islamic republics, monarchies, democracy, military dictatorships, national income differences, richest like Saudi Arabia and poorest Afghanistan, the unifying force is Islam, aims to protect the Islam from Western materialism, Palestinian Israeli crisis, Arab Israeli crisis, the Bosnian crisis, Kashmir, Iraq, and Afghanistan crisis. 2006, Danish newspaper Danish newspaper published offense cartoons of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Organization of Islamic Corporation took a unified stand on the issue. Weaknesses of Organization of Islamic Corporation. The Organization of Islamic Corporation fails to establish a peaceful Muslim world. Failure of establishing a security and peaceful Muslim world, considering of what kind of goal OIC established in 1967 for the Muslim world, it has become totally failure to fulfill of those goals. The crisis of Palestine. It has been saying since the establishment of Organization of Islamic Corporation that to give Arabian right to establish Arabian rule in Jerusalem, to give the right for the Palestine people and abdicate from Arabian land which was guarded by Israel, but OIC could not do anything for the Muslim world except passing a few regulations. The crisis of Palestine. It has been saying since the establishment of OIC that to give Arabian right to establish Arabian rule in Jerusalem, to give the right for the Palestinian people and abdicate from Arabian land, which was guarded by Israel, but OIC could not do anything for the Muslim world except passing a few regulations. The crisis of Afghanistan. Organization of Islamic Corporation played a minimum role by giving support of ethical and materialism to Afghanistan during the Soviet aggression. Failure of advancement, economic and build-up relation. Since the establishment of Organization of Islamic Corporation has taken few steps has uh, has taken few steps to build infrastructure of economy and to increase economic cooperation between the member states of Organization of Islamic Corporation. Except these crises, Organization of Islamic Corporation has more failure like Balkan crisis, Gulf crisis, Egypt crisis, Libya crisis, as well as Syria crisis. OIC is playing minor role to mitigate of these crises, played a minor role to mitigate of these crises of Palestine. Thank you so much. I hope you can understand the achievements and organizational structure, responsibilities of Secretary General, and the weaknesses of the OIC. So, while listening the lecture, if you have any question or if you face any problem, you can ask me anytime on WhatsApp. You can comment you can write your question in the comment of Google Classroom. Thank you so much, students.